we are not looking at that. We are looking at the reality on ground and the actual scorecard of the presidents in the past 2 years. And joining us on the conversation this morning is Mr. Lekon Ojo. Good morning, Mr. Lekon. Thank you for joining us on the conversation this morning.
It's my pleasure. Good morning.
Thank you so much. Just before we go into the conversation, we'd like our viewers to take a look at some of the comments made by an opposition figure, a major opposition figure in Nigeria, talking about Mr. Peter Obi.
President that is there today, how many years has he stayed? 2 years. And you could see where we are. Look at the turn of things in 2 years. That means that you can change things in 2 years. If I was there in 2 years, Charles, that you would have seen considerable change. In critical areas, I would have tackled corruption head-on. I would have reduced cost of governance. And you will see it. People will feel it. And those monies invested in critical areas. Our primary health care today, I told you, 70% are not functional. And we spent over 35 billion in conference center. Which conference? Who is coming for the conference? You need to invest your money properly. Just you have been seeing borrowed money invested in critical area. We, a country in Bangladesh with 148,000 square kilometers of land, is producing about 60 million metric tons of rice. And us, with over 6 times that size of land, cannot do 10% of that. Charles, there's room here. You talked about devaluation of Naira. There's nothing wrong in devaluation. I would have done something. I would have allowed the Naira to float, but I would have done it in an organized manner. There will be productivity. The idea of devaluing your currency, allowing it to float, to be cheaper, is that you have productivity so you can export, so people can come and buy. But when you don't have productivity and you devalue your currency, it's double whammy because you have nothing to sell. So I would have injected money in productivity. Today, nobody is producing anything. Somebody told me a few days ago, said, oh, they've removed there's no more tax or this on some of the manufacturing inputs and everything. And all. I said, no. How can you manufacture? How can you do business when your interest rate is over 40%? Yeah, one of the biggest costs of manufacturing today, cost of production today, is interest rate. Just nobody borrows money at over 40% to do a business that is shared. You can only borrow, it's only government that is borrowing that amount of money at that cost. So you need to do the right things, and you can do it. Well, I've said it and I maintain, Charles, there's no democracy in Nigeria today. Nigeria today is not a democratic country. Let's stop telling ourselves lies. If you look at all the tenets, look at all the yardstick of measuring democracy, it doesn't exist here. Simple definition, democracy is government of the people, by the people, for the people. Today, the government we have is not of the people. It's not by the people because the people didn't vote. It wasn't their votes. I'm not just talking about presidency. Across the line, look at what happened in Edo. Can you call that democracy? It is not vote of the people. And it's not for the people. I've just told you that I went to an IDP camp where we have thousands of people, no primary health care. They were begging me to have one nurse, which I said I must make sure I bring. They don't even have primary school, which again I told them I will make sure it happens. So what are you doing? For a country that just spent 21 billion naira to renovate a house for the vice president, which is not, hasn't packed in, is not living there. And you cannot even have a primary school for kids who are going to be leaders of Nigeria tomorrow. For people who pass through the same process, tonight deny these kids this opportunity today. So it is not a democratic country. So it's not for the people. You can't have a democracy without a functional and effective legislature, which you know we don't have today. You can't have a democracy without, again, an independent judiciary that fights for the common person. I can go on and on. In a democracy, it is clear. There's guidelines. Even when you set for people vying for election, like in Nigerian case, you have to talk about people must be qualified. They must have primary school, secondary school, university, and must attain certain age. Charles, that is not happening today. People are with unverified, forged certificates all over the place, criminal records and everything, and they're in charge. So you cannot say that. It is, yes, maybe we're striving to be a democratic country, but the way we are today is not.
You're welcome back to Morning Spring on Western Spring Television. After taking a listen to that interview granted by Peter Obi, the presidential candidate of the 2023 presidential election right there of the Labour Party. We have our analyst right there in the studios, joining us via Zoom, rather, Mr. Tunji Ojo, Mr. Lekon Ojo, rather. And right there is a public affairs analyst joining us this morning. Good morning, Mr. Lekon.
Yeah, Jackson Lincoln Ojo is my name.
All right.
Good morning.
Yes. Did you listen to Mr. Peter Obi right there speaking?
Quite well.
All right. That's his assessment of democracy under Tinubu's watch. Right there. What's your take on some of the key issues it discussed, talking about different things right there? And then, especially with that topic, saying democracy under Tinubu's watch, and especially as we're nearing his second year in office.
I think what we have in Nigeria today, I think is not democracy. I think what we have and what we are practicing today in Nigeria, I think is a civil rule. Civil rule. Because in democracy, I think it's supposed to be the business of the executive, the legislative, and the judicial arms of government. But today, what you have the legislative arms today like a department of the executive, because there are no principle of check and balances. Check and balances principle has been kept under the carpet. Whatever the president say is yes. These are the kind of legislative arms of government we have, that for a very important national issue, that two-thirds majority is required by either head counting or electronic voting. But these people change their rule in order to satisfy the executive and did voice vote. So this is a situation whereby you cannot trust the judicial arms of government. They dance to the tune of the executive. So what we have today is that we have civil rule, not democratic rule.
Oh, absolutely. All right, Mr. Lekon Ojo. Let us take a critical look at President Tinubu's 2 years in office. Let us look at some of the campaign promises he made. And now that he's in office, he spent 2 years already. Let's see, let's try to, if we're going to give him a score, at least we should see what he promised and what he has done so far. So here are some of the promises he made while he was campaigning. I'll be taking a look at 10 key things, 10 key promises he made, talking about President Tinubu while he was campaigning for office. The first one here, number one, build a Nigeria especially for our youth. where sufficient jobs will, with decent wages, create a better life. To build a Nigeria for youth where sufficient jobs with decent wages will create a better life. Number 2, manufacturing. To manufacture, create, and invent more of the goods and services we require. He said, Nigeria shall be known as a nation of creators, not just of consumers. That's another campaign promise. And number 3, export more and import less. Export more and import less, strengthening both the Naira and our way of life. Talking about strengthening the Naira. So let's juxtapose that with the realities on ground. Before I proceed, let's look at the first 3, Mr. Ojo. So far, look at the promises he made. President Tinubu has said he will create more jobs for our youth. Do we have that now on ground? He also said we will become a manufacturing hub. What exactly do we have now? Do you agree with that? Has he delivered on that promise? And number 3, he talked about Nigeria importing more and exporting less. Have we increased our level of production after 2 years? Are we actually importing less and exporting more? What's your opinion? What's your reaction to that, Mr. Lekon Ojo?
Yes, in the area of job creation, I think he's trying in the sense that a lot of youths now across the country have taken to criminality and crime. Why? Because no way to help themselves, and they must live. And to go and poison themselves, to go and hang themselves, I think is not even good. It's against the law of the land, it's against the law of tradition, it's against God. So they don't have to seek for self-help. And self-help that is the reason why you see cultism, that is why you see increase in armed robbery, increase in kidnapping, increase in terrorism, banditry, and others.
What?
That is
sorry, Mr. Lekon. Sorry to quote you.
Has created.
Sorry to quote you right there. Are you saying emphatically that the president, rather than delivering the normal jobs that we thought he would deliver on, he has managed to deliver jobs, you know, that leads youth into criminality?
That is, I am saying it, you understand? I am saying it that it is inability to create the proper job has created all these sort of jobs, has created criminality. You see high level of criminality everywhere, cultism, kidnapping, banditry, or any sort of things are increased just because if you fail to say yes, automatically you are saying no. So if you fail to create the right job, your action would have been creating the wrong jobs. That is exactly what I'm saying. Mr. President has not created anything other than creating monsters that is ravaging, that is causing insecurity, unsafe situation in this country today. Can you call Nigeria a safe territory today? We are in an unsafe territory. Because if the people doing all this form of crimes, assuming they are legally and formally engaged, they won't have time for all this. In criminology, they taught us that when citizens lose confidence in the state, they will take to self-help, and self-help will always be so chaotic. And that is exactly what we are seeing today. So that is the job, is inaction has created.
All right, thank you for that, Mr. Ojo. Now, still talking about job creation, now taking a swift diversion to the minimum wage situation in Nigeria. The present minimum wage, or working wage, as you may call it, is 70,000 naira. And just to be clear, as of the first minimum wage in 1981 was about 125 naira, which at the time equaled 205 US dollars. Today, that amount will be equivalent to around 346,000 naira, 5 times the current 70,000 naira minimum. Now, just to talk about it, do you think that, you know, talking about labor itself, the labor union and all of that, and the fact that severally, and at the inception of this Tinubu administration, his administration tried to stifle, you know, the meeting with the labor unions as such, and then the stifled the protest or the strike action, so to speak. And then right now we have 70,000 naira as minimum wage. Has it delivered, or that's just a charade?
You see, the problem with our labor is that they don't really know what they are doing. They don't really know the meaning of their demands. What do I mean by this? There are situations whereby you don't even need salary increase. Just the stability in price, cost of things. If there is stability in cost of things, consumable and non-consumable items, if there is stability, you don't need any increase. Increase. If they increase, okay, when the minimum wage was 18,000 in Nigeria, how much was a bag of cement? When the minimum wage was 18,000 in Nigeria, a bag of cement was 500 naira. They moved it to 30,000 minimum wage. A bag of cement became 1,005. Now, 70,000 minimum wage. A bag of cement is 10,500. When I did my house in Port Harcourt here, a bag of cement was 500 naira. When I built my country home in Osogbo, a bag of cement was 1,000 naira. But today, the money I used to buy 10 bags of cement that time is what I will use to buy only 1 bag now. So what are we talking about? It's not the increase that matter, stability. There's something they can give to you that will be so humongous, but has no value. The minimum wage of 70,000 naira today has no value. That is it. In my house here, every week, I consume fuel of 200,000 naira every week. But some 5-6 years ago, I consume less than 15,000 naira in a week. So what are we talking about?
All right, Mr. Lekon Ojo. So according to you, he has failed actually in that campaign promise. Let's move on to other points in his campaign promises. This one right here, number 4, it says, continue assisting our ever-toiling farmers through enlightened agricultural policy that promotes productivity and assures decent income so that farmers can support their families and feed the nation. Mr. Lekon Ojo, let's look at the agricultural sector right now. During his campaign, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu said he was going to support farmers, make sure he increases their productivity so that they can feed their families and also feed the nation. What is the reality on ground today? Are farmers really producing optimally? Let's look at the insecurity in some parts of the country, like Benue State which is supposed to be the food basket of the nation. Unfortunately, a lot of farmers have not been going to their farms as a result of insecurity, not just Benue. We have other states like Zamfara State, we have Borno, we have Adamawa, we have Taraba, and so many other states. So how would you rate Mr. President on his campaign promise regarding agriculture and increased productivity in that sector?
I will rate Mr. President, I will say he scored 0.0%. Lesser than 0, it's called lesser than 0%. Let me take it, for example, I am a security expert of global repute. I am a farmer. Now, insecurity, the northern Nigeria produces 100% of garlic, 100% of ginger, 100% of turmeric that we consume in Nigeria. The northern Nigeria produce 90% of commercial beans that we consume in Nigeria. Northern Nigeria produces about 75% of commercial rice. And in the northern Nigeria, there from the axis of North Central, they produce 80% of the commercial quantity of yam we consume in Nigeria, tomato, pepper, onion, and others. Today, how many farmers could go to farm in Benue State? How many farmers could go to farm in Zamfara State? How many farmers could go to farm in Katsina, in Kebbi, in Sokoto, in Yobe, in Gombe, in Adamawa, in Borno, in Niger, in Plateau, even in Kogi State, even in Ondo State, even in Oyo State, even in Osun State? How many farmers could go to farm again? And the primary duty of any government anywhere in the world is security of life and properties. So that is to say, if Mr. President forget about all other policies, if he concentrate on the issue of security, that is to say, farmers will be able to go to farm. There will be excessive food production that we will consume locally and even export. But that is not there. Now, let me now come back. I'm a fish farmer here in Rivers State. And before I started in about 2010. And that time, a bag of fish feed, foreign, was 4,000 naira. As of today, that bag of foreign feed in Nigeria is about 54,000 naira. The feed that we can call local, those are the ones that are made within the sub-region. Those days, we buy it 3,000, but now it's about 37,000. Then, if I take 50,000 to market to buy feed, it will last for more than 1 month. But on a weekly basis here, now, I buy feed of 300,000 naira on a weekly basis. We have to pump water. The cost of servicing the generator, the spare part and every other thing, after wear and tears, the cost of fueling the generator. In a week, I buy 10,000 naira fuel before. But in a day now, I buy 18,000 naira fuel. The fish farmers, we have a union in Rivers State here. We're about 1,000 fish farmers before. But now, we are less than 50 fish farmers because of affordability, the running cost. How many people can afford the running cost now? And at that time, now you grow your fish, and when you send it to market, it is no longer affordable for the consumers. And when you are producing, and those people that should consume it cannot afford it, what happens? You will be forced to stop your production. That is it. So nothing in the area of agriculture.
All right. I
score President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Don't forget, I'm a chieftain of APC. But I'm a chieftain of APC. You can go ahead, Google my name. I relate with them well in Abuja. That is it. But then I'm a pragmatist. I must speak the truth. Not because of anybody, but because of God, my creator. That is it. And I will never allow emotional sentiment
Mr. Ojo,
Yeah.
That's actually good to hear. And so I believe that we're going to get good analysis this morning. Let's talk about the prevalent insecurity issue in Nigeria. It is deeply concerning, and it is one of the key areas that the president campaigned upon, and his manifesto, stated that clearly, that it was going to improve the security architecture of the country. And speaking of the Nigerian state today, taking a quick assessment of the country as a whole. Speaking of deaths in Plateau State, in Benue State, such that it has affected, the core business of such states, which is farming and their output. How well do you think that the president and his administration have delivered on security issue, on putting in place strong, stable, and sustainable security architecture around the country?
Let us be clear. Like I've told you, I belong to almost all the security associations across the globe, in America, in Britain, in the Middle East, everywhere. So I know more. This is my constituency. But I want to tell you clearly that there is no need anybody talking about security today in Nigeria, because the high level of insecurity is too much and is abnormal. We are in an unsafe territory today in Nigeria. No part of Nigeria is safe. At a particular time, we were celebrating the exit or the suppression or the whatever of Boko Haram. But today, Boko Haram has come back fully, to the extent the governor of Borno State cried out that even most of the military hardwares that they were using to tackle these people before in Borno State had been moved. Moved to where? So he cried out. The same week, the governor of Plateau State cried out of insecurity too. And our president, during that period, our president traveled out of Nigeria for about 10 days for working visit, when his house is on fire. The chief security officer of the country traveled when insecurity is ravaging the country. The same week, the governor of Benue State cried out. You are not hearing anything from the governor of Katsina State. You are not hearing anything from the governor of Kaduna State. You are not hearing anything from the governor of Sokoto State and Kebbi State. Do you know why? Because of senseless loyalty to the party and to the president. And people are dying in silence. Did you hear the governor of Kebbi State to cry out, even when Lukarawas ravaged the state?
Lakurawas, yeah.
Lakurawas or whatever.
Yeah.
Did you hear the governor cry out? No. That is it.
All right.
See what happened. See what happened in Edo State. And if sensitively, if somebody could really study the situation, those men that were killed in Edo State, they said they were coming from River State. They were coming from River State, heavily loaded with arms and ammunition. And from River State, you enter Imo State. From Imo State, you enter Anambra State. From Anambra State, you enter Delta State. From Delta State to Edo State. That is, they have been able to, one way or the other, build security of about 5 states before they were accosted in Edo State.
All right.
What are we talking about?
All right,
security
Mr.
everywhere.
Yeah, talking about security, You've just rated the president on security. That's actually point number 10 on some of the campaign promises he made. So if I got you clearly, Mr. Lekonjo, you are not giving him a pass mark in the area of security as well.
0.
Oh,
0.
all right. Interestingly, Mr. Lekonjo is actually an APC chieftain, just like he just mentioned. So you are actually giving us an unbiased opinion. So we are not talking to someone from the opposition party. So that's quite interesting. All right, Mr. Lekonjo, away from that, away from security, let us look at another promise President Bola Ahmed Tinubu made. Talking about healthcare, education, and housing. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu promised to make healthcare, education, and housing affordable and accessible to all in Nigeria. What's the situation we're having right now? To start with, just this morning, we saw a report in one of the newspapers that Nigeria is having a deficit of about 300,000 doctors in Nigeria alone, a deficit. How about the education system? What is happening in our education system? How would you rate Mr. President? Then let's talk about housing. The cost of accommodation has skyrocketed in Nigeria. How would you rate him in that respect as well? If you look at a nation like China, China has a population of over 1 billion people. But China, as we speak, has a housing surplus. But here in Nigeria, we have a serious housing deficit. So, Mr. Lekonjo, how would you rate Mr. President on those three fronts, talking about healthcare, housing, and education in Nigeria?
Let me start from housing. China is too far away. Go to Egypt. Egypt is setting up another capital now. And they have almost 30,000, they are building almost 30,000 structures for both the poor, the less privileged, and the middle class. And there's another part that are building another about 300,000 structures too. So to make sure that when people are coming out, when people grow up to 18, you become an adult and you might need to stay alone, you are not going to rent any apartment. There will be an accommodation for you. Before you grow, maybe they give you 1-bedroom flat, for example. By the time you now begin to build your family, that you need a larger accommodation, they will transfer you to a 2 or to 3-bedroom flat. Egypt here. What are we talking about in Nigeria? I learned they nicknamed one place in Abuja now, they call it Renewed Hope or Hopeless Estate or whatever. In the area of housing, these people prefer to build estates of their own and resell it to the civil servants that are already corrupt or to politicians that are super corrupt. This government do not have plans for anything housing. Let us rule that one out. Then earth. When you say earth, I think during the campaign, I think I wrote some proposal and I sent it to the president now. I sent it to his campaign office. Whereas I advise that even if it is only one tertiary hospitals in each of the geopolitical zones, that should be the first thing. And what do I mean by tertiary? Even if you don't want to build anyone, there is no state in Nigeria today that do not have one teaching hospital or the other. Why not let us build all those ones to a global requirement? Nothing like that is happening today. Almost all the people in government today, they see travel outside the country for medical treatment. That is it. What is Mr. President himself going to do in France almost every month? That is it. So they are not ready. somebody like me, I won't be disappointed because I already know that these people are not for us. They are for themselves and their cronies, and for those people that can be singing praises of them.
All right.
That is it. So, in the area of education, what are we talking about?
All right.
Federal universities before, some federal universities, the students paid 25,000, 30,000. And now they pay almost 150.
All right.
A lot of
Mr. Ojo, we are already pressed for time. Just to talk about this before we round up, it promised generation, transmission, and distribution of sufficient electricity, that's power, talking about that. How then do you explain the humongous amount in multiples of billions that was recently earmarked for solar energy to power the Aso Rock? I mean, is the Aso Rock manufacturing anything in particular? Is it producing anything in particular? Or is that something that is stored there that is supposed to be powered, if you ask me? Because if the president of Nigeria is looking towards solar energy for his abode at the moment, where does that place the fate of Nigerians? And what does it transcend in meaning to Nigerians?
I don't want to refer to Peter Obi again. I want to refer to myself. I've said it. There is no democracy today in Nigeria. What we have is civil rule. Because if this government, if democracy is all about people, that is it. In the interest of Nigerians does not matter to these people at all. If you promise, there's a video, it's still trending, that is say, if I cannot give you affordable power, please don't vote for me the second term. Is there any affordable power at all? In this, my part of Port Harcourt here, not in the village, since September last year, light has not come up for 1 minute. But the system bill, and we have complained, and nothing will happen. Even if you complain to the National Assembly, nothing will happen. Now, a president that promised that there will be light, power everywhere, to bring more industrialization. Now, if you go to Babin Saloon now, the least you can get there in Port Harcourt is 2,000 naira per court. That it was 100 naira few years back.
All right, just to round up.
The president has told us the whole world now that there is no hope for electricity, and that is the reason why they have powered Aso Rock with 10 billion naira worth of solar.
Okay. Just to round up now, in summary, what are the gains or what are the merits of this administration in the past 2 years?
Merit? All what we have is demerit. Nigeria has been so disadvantaged. Nigeria has been so put on the floor and they march upon Nigerians. Nothing good. Nothing.
All right, Mr. Lekon Ojo. We've taken a critical look at some of the campaign promises of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So far, we've taken a look at about 7 out of 10. We may not be able to complete the discussion this morning. I really hope at some other time we will invite you for us to conclude on this particular topic. But so far, if I may ask you, Mr. Lekon Ojo, looking at his campaign promises and the realities on ground in Nigeria, if you were to rate Mr. President, how would you rate him generally? What percentage would you score Mr. President so far, 2 years in office? Looking at all the promises and the reality on ground, how would you rate Mr. President?
I will give him 5%.
5%. All right.
Yes,
all right.
That is colossal failure.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, thank you, Mr. Lekon Ojo. We've been speaking with Mr. Lekon Ojo, a public affairs analyst who has given us his honest opinion concerning the performance of Mr. President. And mind you, like he mentioned, Mr. Lekon Ojo is actually an APC chieftain. So we have not been talking to an opposition figure this morning. We're actually speaking with an APC chieftain who has decided to speak to facts and say the truth, just like he said, because of his own conscience as a good Nigerian. That'll be all on this particular segment this morning. We'll take a short break right now. When we return, the program continues. Please stay with us.